Are we on page Reish Daled? That's what I got.
Yeah.
Mispashtan Asban Labasa. Eloha Osios, he says these letters, Yaku, that's our subject, these three letters. Shel Eric Anpin, Shinis Atru Ba'oros Chochma Bina Das Shebekesser. So let me just straighten out one idea. He says, Eloha Osios Yaku Shel Eric Anpin. Now exactly not 100% clear. I guess he means the Chochma Bina Das as spheros of Eric Anpin, Partsufim in their own right. And on top of them, or panimi to them, are these, are from the Kesser canal. So he says, "Mispashtim acher kach beso the mochim b'kol guf erikanpin." Then after that, they reach the actual partsufim, or the spheros. They start spreading throughout the body of erikanpin. Vis kolal beze'er da'apin. Ultimately, v'achar nechlalim elo ha'osius yaku barosh zer anpin. So the letters themselves now, or I guess they're formed now. What we're saying, they're formed out letters. He says they're now going to zer anpin. So mochim chachma bin and das, and they come into zer anpin through the mochim. Now over here, he's not telling me how they're getting in yet. So the same thing but over here. Just like an Eric Anpin, Maskil Makum Osius Yaakov, where do they start from? The Malach Begolus, Begolta. So they actually come from the most high, they come from in the top of the Kesser of Eric Anpin. He's of Eric Anpin, but Bechin is Mochin, Shabarosh, these are the Mochin in his Rosh. Then after that they start moving downwards. They go into the entire body. We talk about Eric Anpin now. Kachu gam b'zer anpin, but the same thing happens to zer anpin. So it becomes, I guess, like he says, the crowns and the cancer of zer anpin, something like something like that idea, same idea. Shemaschila the hoyer l'malocha b'chugolas. The first thing is it starts from the skull of zer anpin. B'bechinas mochim chach b'bin das, and there in that skull you have mochim developed. And then they spread into the body of Zer Anpin. The Indian who is the Indians like this. Ki oros elonim shachim techila v'so hamoch the Zer Anpin derek saros rosh erik Anpin kamoshi is bar l'cholon. So the normal way that I think about this would have been for the Nayavima, but he's not going there at all. Instead, he's going over to the hairs of Eric Anpin, the hair on the head of Eric Anpin, which hangs down. So it shines in some way onto the hair of Zer Anpin, and then from there it goes into the body of Zer Anpin. So like that. V'amar od says the shachlo lokula. Ki inyan his pashtos. Let me get this worked out here. He says ki the inyan his pashtos oros the osius yakos. So the inyan here that we're talking about is that the letters of these letters that have been formed up, Yaakov b'zer anpin, where they appear in zer anpin, who kadei the shachlo the sakin as zer anpin b'shefa v'or. It's ordered to get him lined up so that he should have the light flowing through him like partsufim. But if the osius Yaakov that were originally formed in the skull of Eric Anpin, if those letters, he says, osius Yaakov al yonis to Eric Anpin, if you didn't have them, ein kiyum osius Yaakov b'tachton to zer Anpin, which I guess would be the same going downwards. So now he says amanaka. So he says that clean wool, that pure wool kadtali, when it hangs down. So he says shasa'aros rosh erik anpin anikroim amanaki. They're called white wool or clean wool. Tuluyan mishtal shudakadabata. They hang down from the head and they head downwards. Talian Elan Asvan, so these letters, Azaiha Oros de Osius Yaakov de Eric Anpin, which come out, Nimshachim Besaros Amar Naki, and they come through the hairs, which is called Amar Naki, Behelam Godol B'Tluya Koldu. uvasliya kaldahu. Now let's just credit the. So let me just go back over the final words so I could get on the idea. His talion elon asvan. So these letters and somehow are hanging down too, just like the hairs. Azai ha'oros the osios yaku the erikanpin nimshach. So they stand down, but either on or in the hairs of this Amarnaki. Behelim Gadol, but you can't see it. It's in a complete, it's tremendously hidden. Uvtaliya kaldahu. Now, this word kaldahu means it's just barely hanging on to it. So it's almost like it's not there. So that's what it is. It wants to say something very, very small physically or very thin physically. V'hine saros elu hemaruchin. Now, these hairs are long. So they go down until they reach I read it wrong, until they reach the rosh, the head of Zeranpin. So therefore, then they reach that area of the head, they start shining into the head. And what's happening is a tremendous amount of brachas coming through that line, coming into Zeranpin. Of al yedeh kach nezoinin amochin de Zeranpin. So this feeds the mochin of Zeranpin. V'nisak b'tosefes ha'ara, and they are rebuilt with an additional amount of ara. They get more ha'ara into them. V'az mekabel b'Zeranpin ha'oros the osios Yaakov b'mochin shalosh. So those oros, he says ha'oros. He says not the mochin themselves, but he gets ha'ara from those mochim that are somehow attached to these hairs, which, if he didn't say it now, he said it previously, that they're very, very thin. They're almost transparent. They're almost like that. The hairs are almost not like there, and these letters are almost like not there also. V'omer Odni says further, Kad is gali the ze'erim. And so now you have a revelation, of the words Yaakov in Zer Anpin, because of this clean hair that's coming purely down, which has the letters attached, Misyashvan, Be Ilan Asvan, V'iskre Bahon. Azai Misyashvim and this Galim Bezer Anpin, Osios Yaakov. Now you could see the letters Yaakov Elu, Vaz Nikra Zer Anpin B'Shem Yaakov, and that's when Zer Anpin is called by the name of Yaakov. Avachal in other words, what you see in Zer Anpin is the physicalization of something which he just described, and only the way it's physical is because it's not getting the essence of the light itself, because apparently the light is so thin or so transparent, it's almost like it's not there, but it's a tremendous power. It has the power to come into Zer Anpin and make Zer Anpin and make them appear in Zer Anpin. I think that's what he said. Va'az nikra Zer Anpin b'shem Yaakov. So now Zer Anpin, it could be called by that name. But up above, go into the panemius of the whole situation. Lo nisyashvech osios Yaakov. Then they don't. There's no place for them. He said because they're not really letters. And I think I mean, this is my interpretation, but I think the idea is that, once again, that Zer Anpin is the place of the revelation. It's the more physicalization of something that's coming from non-physical sources. Ella ha'osias Yaakov rumozim be'erik Anpin. There's a remes to Erik Anpin, be'helim godol b'zliya kaldahu. And he says, and some just a little bit of hanging down. It's almost not there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now he says the Yud Da'atika. So Os Yud Shalatika. So the letter Os Yud, and he wants us once again to understand that we're dealing with Erik Anpin. I think I have a reason for why he keeps switching them, is because the Tika, Atik Yomim, is inside of Erik Anpin. And so therefore, and he's manifesting Erik Anpin, making it come out, or work, whatever. So what is this? The what is this? The Yud Diavatika. Here, the Yud of that name, which is the secret of the krum that covers over the Mochstimah. So Hamisater b'ha'aras chachma shebekeser, and they're crowned by a radiance that's coming from the Chochmah and Keser. Now, didn't we see this once before, or did I'm out of sequence in my own head? So he said that you have this concept. Let's take the letter Yud. He's been talking about Yaakov, right? So he said, let's take that. What is that? That actually represents this kruma. He says, Yesod ha-krum, ha-mchasa v'saisim v'samochas timor, ha-mis'ate b'ha'aras ha-chochma, which is crowned. That, so let me just get this straight. This, what is it? The subject, Shehu Sod ha-krum. So the krum itself, he says, ha-mis'ate is crowned by this ha'ara from the chochma of the keser of Eric Anpin. But so kitur, this is where we had this word kitur, but now we decide it means a vapor. Now, what's the vapor? Just a second. What's the vapor? The words are it's a vapor hayotzi v'muchas dima. It's a vapor that comes out of the muchas dima. What is the vapor? That is shehu sod hakrum shemechasa v'soisim as a muchas dima. Hamis'ater b'ha'aras ha'chochma shebekeser. So the ha'ara, the chochma, the keser, b'sod kitter, and this. What does he mean? There's a vapor on top of the muchas dima, or not top of the krum, which is on top of the mochas dima. Is that possible that that's the seder here? Besod kiter, that we had said. So this vapor is hayotzim mochas dima, which is coming out of the mochas dima. Let's say it again. I got it better here. So it is the kruma that covers over the mochas dima, and in some way there's some vapor here. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Sasim be'itrui. Hine zeh ha'itra shema'ater es ha'krum. So now he says there's crown on top of the krum itself. That crown is the ha'ara that is coming from the chochma of keser of Eric Anpin. Shuhu ha'chochma shebekeser hanal. Nishar sasom, it remains closed. Ve'ena niftach lehispasha bekrum. So it never opens up, so that what's panimi to the krum could be go into the krum. Ki bechinas chachma shene'elma me'eni kol chai, because this is a concept of a chachma. Now, which chachma are we talking about? We're talking about the chachma on top of the krum, which is a hara from the chachma of the keser of. This sounds like the Rashash, doesn't it? It's a chachma from the keser of Eric Anpin. So therefore, it stops the etzem of the light that's in this panemius, which I guess is this ha'ara we're talking about. He stops it. Rak ha'ara bilvad. That's all you get is a ha'ara. In other words, the light never penetrates the krum. It stays on top of it. V'lechein afal gabsha osios kevav that are going to come after the yud. So they have some opening. They have some opening in the nostrils. Of the shisha kitzvah segufka l'cholon. He's going to talk about the fact that they have an opening into the six different, what he says, the six spheres of the body. Im kol zeh b'yud, in all that os yud shall kruma d'avira. But here's the secret. The secret is that the yud, which comes from the kruma d'avira, ein lo shum gilui upasicha. It has no real revelation. It doesn't open up. So even though those have openings, because obviously if it gets into the body, then I'd like to hear what he calls the six bodily openings, but I think he's talking about the spheres in the Rosh, but maybe not. Ein lo shum gilui upasicha. Begin shmal lo ishtakach lefi shaha'osiz shem yud ke vav ke. So the letters of those ein nimsa v'nizgala, they're not revealed, they're not found, they're not chachma. In the area of chachma, there's no solidity there in some way. As a result, there is no physicality. Where you're going to find it? It's hidden. And what is that word? And it says further. Now, okay, we got a hold right here. Oh, okay. I'd like to go back. Why not? We'll go through it now on page Resh Zion. Here we're gonna examine here the Yud, the Atika. He says Os Yud Shel Atika. Here he means Ik Atika Eric Anpin. Shusod HaKrum Shemachas V'Saisim Es HaMochas Timor. So the Yud is the secret of that krum. So he says, so he's going to put into play the three upper spheros of the Keser of Eric Anpin. So he says, there's a hara that comes from that Chachma Shebekeser, Besod Kitter. So this is like, I said, maybe it is more like a fragrant smoke, or I don't know, very light smoke. That comes out of the Muchas Timor, some kind of a vaporous something, very intangible. Sasin be'itrui, it's closed over. So this covering, which he said is some kind of a smoke or something like that, that is the chachma of Kasser, or radiance from Nishar Saso, but it remains closed. So therefore, what's up above the krum it doesn't come in. Bechinas chachma shene'elma. The idea is it's tachlis, I guess. It should be hidden. Me'enei kol chai. Ve'en mispash b'ben etzem ha'or. So therefore, the light, the actual moach, or what we call it, the light itself never spreads out. Rak ha'ara bilvad, only in the ara from it. So we never really know what chachma is. So we see later on, as Zeranpin, like he has Bina is inside of Chachma, or I got it right, Chachma is inside of Bina. V'lechein af al gav shaha'osias hey vav de'erich anpin. Yesh lechem b'petzichu v'ktzaz gilu benik v'hachoitim, and that they come through the nose, that there is some light that shines out directly out. Of v'shisha kitzvos aguf, and also the six corners of the body. Even so, the yud of the kruma of vira doesn't open up onto anything. Begin shmal lo ishtakach. So what's that? The fisha osius shem havaya, because the name she havaya, shem havaya, ena nimsach, is not found, v'nisgale, and revealed. Bebechinas chachma, the aspect that doesn't reveal itself. Kamosha Amar, v'chachma me'ein timsa. Where do you find it? You can't find it in the elma me'eni kol chai. Hidden away. The nature of chachma. V'amar he says further. Hey, now I just have to make a comment to why the hey is. You have three different ways you can write hey, and I see this writing a lot. So he said v'amar od hey is patach. Ba'achra. So he says, os hey, the letter hey. So we're talking about the hey, shal erik anpin, shemis'atar b'or ha'yota mebina shebekeser. So it's crowned by a light that comes out of the bina of the keser. Now we're warning the bina part of the keser of erik anpin, av shkul sazon lamala b'shorsho, even though it's closed up at its root. Hu niftach v'nizgala ora b'makom achar lamata, but it ultimately shows its light someplace else down below. And he explains, Ketzad is Gala. So how, in fact, is it revealed? Tell me. He said, so where is this other place? And where it's not revealed. And he says, it makes a hole, or it bores a hole maybe. Bisrin dukvin, into the two nukvin. There's an idea right here by itself. The concept that there's a ruach that comes out of Bina. Okay, Bina has a ruach. So again, ha-ruach ha-yotze me-bina shebekeser, over b'chaitim. It passes through the nose. Now, it's before that, let's see, he was talking about the yud, right? And from the yud was the concept of a ha'ara. Here he says, this is a ruach of Bina, a bekeser, over b'chaitim, and it goes by itself. That ruach comes from it, which I think, in other words, is a generation down from the light itself, probably. Umenake b'shnei nikvei achaitim, and it makes an opening there, and it gets through the two nostrils. V'ishtakach b'tikunin. V'oz, so then it comes out like this. V'oz nimsa v'nizgale ha'oz hey. Then you see, when it comes out through the nostrils, there's a hey over there. Now, which hey is this? Is it the hey aleph? Anyway, I just keep having to say that because I'm looking for the understanding of why it's written like this. It says, hey, Shuba Bechinas Tikkun Ashvi, the Tikkun Golgolta, which is the concept of the seventh tikkun of the tikkunim of the head. Hanikra trin nukvin the Berdashka canal. So I get a little stuck on that because I thought that I'm really a little maybe confused about which are the seven. I know you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. I thought that's what it was. And then that would have made the mouth, to me, would make it number 7. But he says that the nostrils are number 7. Shuhu bebechinas tikkun nashvi. This is 7 tikkun to tikkuni gugolda nikra trin nukvin de berdashka. So there's the 2 nostrils of the nose. So he says that he gives a cipher reference. I can go look it up. And this is the secret of the letter Hey. The letter Hey gets revealed in the 2 of the openings of the nose. V'oz v'omar od vav. He said the vav, and he writes it like this: Ispatach ba'achra. Now the os vav also, it's also shel Erik Anpin. We're talking about the one of the keser from there, Erik Anpin. It becomes a crown. The vav is somehow a crown that crowns on top of the light that comes out of the das of the keser of Erik Anpin canal. But niftach, it opens up. But you see the light in a different place. Kolomer, avshuhu sawsam, even though that is closed up. B'shorsho, lamala b'makom b'das. So the original root of it is in the das, which I guess he meant the keser, who niftach v'nisgala b'hispashtusa l'matach b'shisha kitzvos deguf Erik Anpin. So from that position, it somehow makes its way through this letter Vav, which originally had, what did he say what it was? He says, mater v'yotzim b'dash b'keser. Let's go on. It doesn't tell me exactly what it is, but at any rate, it comes out of the das of the keser of Erik Anpin, who niftach v'nisgala b'hispashtuso l'mata b'shisha kitzvos deguf Erik Anpin. So it actually comes out. Where does it come out? I guess because it's the concept of the middle line. I'm trying to understand why I don't have a transition over here to see how the Vav got into the 6 kitzvos. I don't think I see it. Derech Sevis is like this: Cholech l'doidi l'meisharim. That's an interesting one. How do you translate that? He said, Moshe Kasa b'pasuk b'sod das. So this is what Das wants to say. He's going towards his lover. He's going in a straight line. So maybe it's answering my question. He's saying this is what it wants to tell you. It comes from its place up above. El Malcolm Tiferes to Erik Anpin, and it comes to the place of the Tiferes of Erik Anpin in a straight line. I guess a Nikra Daidi, who's called my lover. Mispasha because Shisha Kitzvos Gulf, and then from there it goes to the 6 corners of the body of Erik Anpin, Derech Chut Hashidra, through the spinal column. So he gets into it. Shalcholech be'emsa, so Shalcholech be'emsa, that it runs down the middle of what we're talking about, and then he said b'mishor, and I translated this as in alignment, so it's lined down the middle, bebechinas the muda de imsa, which is the concept of middle column, shehu sod meisharim, which is the secret of straightness. I think so. I think there is something there in that thought. The question was, how does it get from the das? How does it get from the das and the keser of Erik Anpin down into the goof of Erik Anpin? And he says it has something to do with straightness and alignment. That's its nature. Its nature is to be aligned in the middle, something like that. Then he said, "Babutzin de kardanusa." He says, what is the power that does this for this? It's the butzin de kardanusa, which we saw this before. Hidenesses pashtus das because spirits are guf shamarna. So in fact, how does it get out there and do all this work? Who sewed kavamida? It's the balance line, which is another concept of the middle line. Amida hanidra butzin de kardanusa. Now, why would it be called the butzin de kardanusa? Because it's a lashon gevura. V'amar od lemachasya pischa ki hagavuros de das, because there's gevuros inside of that das. Mispashni b'makom apeh de Erik Anpin. They spread out from, he said, into the mouth of Erik Anpin, besod hevel leyotzim in the past. So then it's like this hevel that comes out from the mouth. Mechasim, and it covers over as Pesach HaPeh, the opening of the mouth. V'acha should be, so there's a whole thing here. V'acha should be Besichos v'gilui osios Yaakov. So now he says that he explained to us. I probably should have gone over that last part again if I have just a couple of minutes, just to go over this last part again, because I thought we were finishing. I was rushing. I know you give me 5 minutes more. So he says, apostle, we're going to start. Let's start over where it says, Babutzin de Hidenesses. V'hine his pashtus adas because Sifra D'Tzniuta shamarno. So how does it spread? Hu besod kava mida. It's because of the concept of balance. Hanikra butzine de Hidenesses. Now, why would balance, that was my question, be called butzine de Hidenesses? The Omer Od, and then because it adds, and then the Machasya Pischa, in order to be able to cover up the opening. And what's that about? He says, Geravuras the Das, the Das is composed of Chasadim and Gevuros. The Gevuros in the Das, mispashtu b'makom apeh, they spread down to the place in the mouth, the Erech Anpin. Besod Hevel yotzim in the peh, and they're like some kind of a Hevel. Okay, a peh. Machasim, and they cover over the mouth. Pesach apeh, they cover over the opening of the mouth. This is where we're at now. Shepesichas v'gilui osios Yaakov. So now we're saying that the opening and the revelation of these letters of Yaakov the Erech Anpin, yesh hevdel bein os yud Erech Anpin she'ein lo niftach legalus oro. So it never opens up so that its light should ever be revealed directly. Lebein osios hey and vav of that Yaakov the Erech Anpin sheniftachim legalus orim, because there's the nostrils and then we see there's the body of Erech Anpin. So Yavor Ata, now we're going to get into this now. Kikach gam b'hiskalus ha'oraz ha'osios Yaakov the Erech Anpin ba'osios Yaakov the Zer Anpin. So let's say how those letters that we talk about in Erech Anpin, they wind up in Zer Anpin, Hanizgar le'el, which we mentioned. Yesh hevdel b'hem hiskalus os yud the Erech Anpin ba'os yud the Zer Anpin. The bain hiskalus osios hey vav the Erech Anpin ba'osios hey vav the Zer Anpin. So we're comparing the two Yaakovs, and they have differences. He says vav le'ela, vav le'tata. So you have a big vav, that's the one that's penimi, and you have the next vav is the vav in Zer Anpin. Ki os vav ha'elyoyne, the high one, shall das his mamispashet b'shisha kitzvos the Erech Anpin. That one which we said covers over the gevuros, bring everything down, I guess. That's what they're doing. And os vav ha'tachtone the Erech Anpin, and it joins in, becomes a partner with the vav down below. He says the hey la'ela, hey la'tata. Let's talk about the two heys of Yaakov. He says kamo kain os hey el yonah shebenikveh ha'chaitim. So that hey el yonah that was in, they're talking about the nostrils, the Erech Anpin, nechlelas and mishtatefes ba'os hey tachtone the Zer Anpin. Once again, it's incorporated in. So the yud la'ela uba lo ishtatef achra. Now we start back to the yud again. Aval os yud el yona de kruma de revira. Now when we said the yud refers to the kruma de revira, enem ishtatefes im os yud tachton de Zer Anpin, it doesn't go down there. So we have the vav and we have the hey that we understand, but the yud never makes a enem ishtatefes in os yud tachton de Zer Anpin v'lo salek ba'adah. Ukomo kain os yud tachton de Zer Anpin eina oila the hiskalas ba'os yud el yonah de Erech Anpin. It does, that connection's not the same thing. In other words, they're not partners. But inyan huki os yud el yonah eina niftaka legalchus ora. It never opens up to be able to show where it is. Canal. Ba remiz de rumiz, only with the slightest hint. V'chein hiskalus os yud el yonah de Erech Anpin ba'os yud tachton de Zer Anpin nirmezes b'derek remez bilvad. The only way you would know about this is through a remez. V'zeh yesh kiyum os yud. So this remez, which is, he's trying to say it's very, very hidden, thin connection. So therefore this remez, that's the thinness of the yud tachtoine de Zer Anpin. There's a remez to it. That's it. Keep below yud el yoine, because if you don't, this is a basic rule. If you don't have chachma, you don't have children. If below yud el yoine de Erech Anpin, Ein Kiyum Liyudachtain, the Zer Anpen, and that's it. Thank you very much, Rebbe. Tremendous stuff. You can't call to.